Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I have mentioned before about the SNP's push for juryless trials. They're claiming initially it's only for the R trials, sexual offences, things like that. But that's only the thin edge of the wedge. What they actually want to do is eradicate jury trials altogether, because that way they can control the narrative. You don't have, the people interfering with the justice system that they want to impose. And when you take into consideration a new legal bill that means that they, the SNP government, also control the judiciary, you can see the dangers. Some guy will go up to the, in front of the police, or rather, he'll be arrested by the police, dragged up to the front of the court. The judge will have been told that this guy must be found guilty, and so the judge will find him guilty. It won't be up to a jury, for there will be no jury, and the judge won't say he won't do it, because he knows if he fails to do that, the SNP will fire him and he'll no longer be a judge. What price? Justice. But this, of course, is their direction of travel. However, they've faced a very major setback, one that they don't know how to break, although they'll probably try. But let's take a look at this and see what's going on. Here goes. So, SNP's controversial juryless R trials in a new setback, as they fail to confirm whether lawyers will even take part. And this is the thing we've run before. Everyone, 100%, everyone in the law profession, the legal profession, from the lowliest sort of legal clerk all the way up to the highest judge in the land, are all 100% against it. They say this is anathema to justice. They say it removes the independence of the judiciary. It is damaging to democracy, and they will not take part in juryless trials. And of course, without an advocate, you cannot have the trial. And so this thing is now technically dead in the water. However, I wouldn't put it past the SNP to try and say, well, we trust our judges, so why don't we just do trials without advocates? So there's no jury, and there's no lawyers, there's no barristers. You just wheel in the suspect, the accused, and the judge just sits there and goes, yeah, he's guilty, or no, he's innocent. But it'll probably be mostly, yeah, he's guilty. You'll have no one to speak for you. That's what they're probably going to push for next. See, when they own the judiciary and they've removed the juries, what else is left? Let's get rid of the advocates. Let's get rid of the lawyers and the barristers. After all, they will only stop the law decisions that we want made being made. This is the direction of travel, and it is what you do when you have a Marxist dictatorship. Just think of the Soviet Union. Just think of North Korea. There is no defence. You're just wheeled in and summarily dismissed and sent to jail because the judge has a quota to fill. And he hasn't quite filled it today. The Scottish Government wants to run a pilot for our trials to be decided by only a judge and no jury. But these plans have been slated by those in the legal profession, with lawyers planning to complete a complete boycott of it. Yeah, no solicitor, no lawyer, no barrister is going to represent a client in a juryless trial, and so therefore isn't going to happen, is it? And of course, the other way round, just thinking about it there now, actually, just another little thought that's coming to my head is that they could turn around and start threatening the lawyers and the solicitors and saying, if you don't do this, then we'll remove you from the list. Previously, they couldn't do that, but if this new bill goes through, it will be up to the government to say who the lawyers are. And of course, the government can just start taking their rights away. Well, if they do that, then other lawyers may go, oh, I don't want to lose my job, whatever. And, sort of fall in line with it. But if they do that, then they're finished. The whole of the legal profession in Scotland no longer exists. Anyway, the Scottish Government's controversial proposals for juryless trials have experienced a new massive setback after they failed to say whether they had roped in any lawyers or advocates to take part in the pilot for them. The policy has been proposed in the legal reforms which are currently going through Holyrood, and nobody wants it, except the SNP, of course, because it means that they can tell in advance what the decision will be, because it will be the decision they want it to be. It has been roundly criticised by the legal sector, who've claimed it involves the SNP executive interfering in the independence of the judiciary, and it's been seen as an attempt by ministers to improve the convictions of R rates by holding trials in front of singular judges rather than in front of a jury of people. But justice must always belong to the people. And their claim that, it's very much harder to convict on this particular crime than others, well, I'm afraid that's down to the prosecution not making the case. You can't have it both ways. And once you start having a juryless trial for one crime, there is nothing to stop it expanding into others, until eventually there is no jury in Scotland. Lawyers across Scotland are expected to join what looks to be a unanimous boycott of the scheme, meaning it will be a struggle to hold a pilot without someone representing the accused. Currently, all R and attempted Rs are held before a jury of 15 people. The pilot was proposed by Scotland's second most senior judge, Lady Dorian, with her review being included in the Victims, Witnesses and Justice Reform Scotland Bill. Her aim, of course, is to become Scotland's most senior judge. But in most recent figures, conviction rates for R and attempted R were 51%, compared with 91% for all other crimes. Well, it's a very hard crime to convict upon. And we know that there are cases where, let's say Cry Wolf happens. And recently we had a man who did 19 years, 19 years in prison for a crime he didn't do. But simply because he could have been out on parole, but he refused to be paroled because he said he never did the crime. How can he be paroled for it? And so forth. Eventually, DNA evidence, which they knew about for years, was presented and he got out. But the fact is that the Crown knew about the DNA evidence and did nothing. And if that's what the Crown are doing, there's no reason to trust the judiciary, and let's have a jury by the people and not jury by, people with a vested interest, shall we say. The Scottish Daily Express can reveal that the government have yet to confirm whether any lawyers will actually make themselves available for a potential trial. Justice Secretary Angela Constant said those accused of R will not be able to opt out of a pilot. Well, it doesn't look like there'll be much of a pilot. So what you're being told is that this is how your trial is going to go. It's only a pilot scheme, but you're not going to have the option to come out. Well, what if you say, actually, no, I really want to go in front of my peers. Whether I'm guilty or not is immaterial. I don't want to be part of a pilot scheme, which may be down to a judge who has a quota to fill. That is not justice, is it? The paper asked the SNP executive through Freedom of Information whether any lawyers or advocates had said they would take part in this, but were told, and it'll probably be spin here, the proposal to hold a pilot of single judge trials has not been enacted. It is part of the Victims, Witness and Justice Reform Scotland Bill that is currently being considered by the Scottish Parliament, which is them saying, no, they haven't, because they won't answer the question. And the fact is they can't say no, so the answer is no. They can't say yes, rather. So they repeat and go, blah, 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 and give a non-answer to a completely different question. And the fact is that at that point, the answer is no, nobody's signed up because they don't want to admit it. Nothing is ever true until it's been officially denied, of course, and there they are denying it. MSPs are still getting the chance to scrutinise the bill as it travels through Holyrood, but the government is yet to change the mind of those in the legal sector. Bar associations throughout Scotland have confirmed they would join a boycott of any pilots. And we covered that before. And do you know which bar associations are boycotting? Every single one. There's not one exception. All of them, unanimously, 100%, are boycotting it. Quite right too. Donald Findlay KC, one of the country's leading criminal defence lawyers, called the plans an attack on democracy, while Simon Brown of the Scottish Solicitors Bar Association said all of its branches had agreed to boycott the pilot. He added, this isn't compliant with the European Convention on Human Rights, and even if the legislation allowed it is passed, there will be legal challenges. It won't survive. And because of the European Convention on Human Rights, you are entitled to trial by jury. That is actually enshrined That isn't implied. That is implicit. It is mentioned. And so it just has to be challenged on that ground, and bang, it's dead. It doesn't exist. The only way you can get out of it is for Scotland to become independent and then to pull out of the European Convention on Human Rights. Because the moment you do that, you can't join the EU. So good luck. Good luck in trying to enact this. Anyway, Scottish Conservative Shadow Justice Secretary Russell Findlay MSP told the Scottish Daily Express, with some lawyers already saying they'll boycott this SNP plan. In fact, all lawyers now. All lawyers. The Justice Secretary needs to listen, engage, explain and persuade, not ignore serious concerns and just hope for the best. And there, of course, is Russell Findlay. He said many victims of R already suffer significant additional trauma due to the justice process that cannot be made worse by a half-baked SNP legislation. And then there's some BS from the government trying to justify this, and it can't be justified. But yeah, there we go. So it's basically dead in the water. It's not going to happen. Old grumpy face there can, sit there, stamp her tiny feet and moan about it. But she cannot enforce this. She cannot make people go to court and defend witnesses. Cannot be done. So, dead in the water. And of course, even if it is enacted, even if it does go through across the books, first court case comes up and they'll just challenge it. They'll walk in there and just challenge it on the grounds of the EU and then quote the necessary legislation from the European Convention of Human Rights. And that's the end of that then. So, it's a waste of time, isn't it? Like so much of what the SNP do. Time, effort and money pissed away rather than getting on with a day job. Ho hum, what else do you expect? Coming up. Seems no matter how hard they push to make Scotland a single party dictatorship, there's enough people there with enough nous and enough backbone to say no. It isn't going to happen. And well done to the legal profession for rejecting what is an absolutely bloody awful idea. But how else are they going to find themselves innocent? You see, if they can control the judiciary and have juryless trial, then any of them that's arrested and tried for whatever crime can be found innocent. Because, hey, what judge is going to punish the SNP knowing he'll lose his job? That's where it's going. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope that's been informative. I hope that's enlightened your heart to think that there are people still willing to fight for the rights of the people. Till next time, stay safe, stay well. Do please hit the subscribe button. And until I will speak to you later. Bye.